Hey friends, welcome back to the table where we do tarot. I am Dale, and I am going to do a tarot reading for us this morning. It is morning where I am at, and I feel like there's this real heavy reminder to, if you've never felt this way before, or if you've never even thought of this concept before, it's really, I think, important to consider the fact that when things go wrong in our life, it's 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 a miracle, okay? Like that's the only way that I can say it. Like, and the only way that you're going to consider this is if you think about all the times that things don't go wrong. Okay? So it's like for the fact that when things really do go wrong, um if you start to have it's not even an appreciation for it because it's like what sort of appreciation can you have for having something go terribly wrong in your life that you didn't plan for, right? It's like you have to realize that some things are happening outside of your control. So instead of maybe being appreciative of it, just be in awe of that thing, okay? Because you know that you would not have set that in motion for yourself for any particular reason. And because every time that something goes wrong, there's people get hurt in the process of that, whether it be physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You know, It's like whether you're being the person hurt in the moment or whether that comes later on because you're the one that hurt somebody and, then it sort of swings back around to other people. It's not even to yourself. Sometimes it like goes back to people that you care about. And then you have to watch them go through something that you put somebody else through. And so I want you to understand that just like I think we always feel in lack because we think of miracles as being an ultimate positive thing, right? It's like it would be miraculous if I won the lottery or if I could just like snag a job where I could, put forth all the energy that I always have towards everything that I do. But in this job, it's that I get to do more effective work and I get paid more effectively for that thing, It's like those aren't really always the miracles because we don't know how to handle them, we don't know how to handle them. And so if you learn to embrace the things that focus our attention because they have such a strong pull because they feel like lack, they feel like a miracle of lack, then at least you start to learn how to focus and hone in your attention on something. And that's why it's like going uphill is always going to be more conscious than going downhill. And you have to realize that your personal path through life, if I'm not saying that if it feels too easy, you're not doing the right thing, but you have to do a little uphill climb in order to get to the upward levels of where you're being called to in order for life to become like fun, where work becomes fun, where um it's just this Newtonian physics of it, of where what you give, you receive completely, So we're always talking about quantum physics and how to try to manifest and things like that through quantum physics. Yeah, that's the real true law of the universe. But the real true law of the earth plane that most people believe in is Newtonian physics. And that's for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you miraculously haven't gotten that equal and opposite reaction, then you need to start being more grateful for the miraculous bullshit that you've gone through, okay? Because it's trained you how to have to dig yourself out of the trenches, all right? It's just like, if God's walking you along this path and you can't see a physical embodiment of somebody helping you through it, but you keep moving towards what you feel like God is telling you to do, God prepared a place for you, right? That's like, I think everybody, I don't know what verse that is, but I know that there's a Bible verse that says, I prepared a place for you. And I think we think in terms of that as like heaven, like afterlife. It's like, no, it's like in your life, God prepared a place for you. And if you're not there yet, you're just not there yet. Okay. So if you are following the word of God, you can't help but keep going towards it. You can't. It's like, it feels so uncomfortable, you know, to think about yourself in this Newtonian physics category of life where like equal and opposite action and reaction. It's like if people have given you a lot of shit in life and you've had a lot of problems, It's like you can try to go and emulate what they've done, and the only thing that it will allow you to do is see how good the ego feels when you do something like that. And then you are going to feel regret for it. And if that's like the first time you've done something like that, it like it can get addicting. That's why people continue to do that because they get to feel the power of it in the moment and they don't really care about the long-term repercussions of it. But that's just the dimension that they are in, right? If they were a gem, as I think we are everything is like a diamond in the rough before it gets cut, except for things like crystals where they have their own multidimensionality that is structured within what they are made out of. It's not like it has to be cut down into something like a diamond might be or a garnet might be. So I just want you to understand that people do get addicted to the ego way of life because that's just what they were cut for. That's what they were built for, right? And it's like, but they still have their own path of like, what is it, samadhi or whatever, where it's like this, I don't know, it's like a path of enlightenment. But I know that you know this already, that if you have to deal with things in a more loving way when your life is going to shit as compared to all the people around you, it's tough, okay? It's tough. And I think that whatever is going on in the celestial heavens right now, I think it's gaining a lot more attention, okay? This concept of like the blood moon and the lunar eclipse. In America, we didn't get to see it. It was not in the path of totality or whatever you want to call it when it's a lunar eclipse. It didn't happen for us, but it did happen for us back when we were in Pisces season, I believe. I believe it was in Pisces that we had a full moon, and I don't know what sign the full moon would be in because it's in the oppositional sign. So I guess whatever we're in now, what is it, Virgo? So I don't know, maybe the full moon was in Virgo if it was exactly like, you know, directly across the zodiac clock from Pisces. Um, but that Oh, damn, I am looking at a piece of paper hanging on a clipboard that says eclipse on it. That's very interesting. And that might have been at the time that that was happening that I actually went to like go find out about this program. But anyway, I just want you to understand that eclipse energy kind of it takes its time. It takes its time to eclipse something out of your life. Okay. So perhaps if you were in America and you witnessed the full moon eclipse back in whatever the hell it was, March, then perhaps you are going to feel the effects of it now. And it's like, no matter how much you want to speed the process along, it's like, this is just the path of life. This is just what it is. And so what I want to know is like, I bring this out because this is my lowest quality deck. No, I don't know what's at the bottom of it yet. Okay. So we're going to find out. It's the fucking devil. It's the fucking devil. And that's exactly what I'm talking about because I really want to try to get into what is the collective energy that we're feeling because I know when I do these readings, really it's almost like I wouldn't be able to do the reading if it wasn't speaking to me. It's almost like it's always talking about me and my personal life and people within my story. And here's where it is. It's the King of Pentacles coming head to head with the fucking devil. And it's like really they should be in alignment with each other in positive terms when we think of it as that like the devil is representative of Capricorn and Capricorns are because I am one I really understand what the freaking energy is like and it's tough and but what happens is that there's an illusion mixed in with that knowing what it is to be like a king of pentacles, because it means like the king of the land and really kind of like the devil is the king of the land. It's like God is the king of the universe, but the devil is the king of the land. And that is what you have to go toe to toe with every single freaking day of your life. It's not like just because you had a season of being good. Do I want these? Let me just see what all that is. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know. Let's just get to that. Let's see what's at the bottom. The moon. So I think it has to do with that full moon energy. Okay, there's a Two of Pentacles, a Five of Cups, and I think that that really represents this juggling of like, I have been giving so much of myself into this surrender mission, and you don't understand, like, where if you've been doing this on a deep level, what you still have left to give up. It's like, I don't feel like I'm trying to juggle these things anymore, but yet I don't feel like any sense of clarity, right? It's like hard. It's hard not to focus on all the things that aren't working when you're giving so much of your like of your energy. Sorry, the light was reflecting funny, but it's because I was holding this up and it's casting differently. Let's just keep moving. It's like, yeah, I'm trying to surrender, right? I'm trying to surrender. I'm trying to let go of all this stuff, this like pursuit of just money, right? But if money is all you're waiting on because you have been giving so much of the things that don't have a price tag, like I come here and I give hours and hours, like, I have like maybe 206 videos on this channel. It's like, that's all for fucking free. That's all for free because that is my show of my investment in whatever it is that God has made me for, because I've tried to invest myself out in the world, out in the relationships that I have, out in the people, and any person that's drawn to me, because I know why they're drawn to me. The same. If you vibe like me, no, this is why. It's because, oh, hang on, the tower came with it, but it's because of this like Queen of Pentacles energy that you have. But what happens if they're not a proper partner to you is that you set towers in their life. And so even though like everybody sees you initially as this like queen of the sunflowers and stuff, it's like, look at how bright and sweet she is, and she's amazing. She can grow anything. And like she's not afraid to have the black cat in front of her, it's like she looks into the darkness for new creation. That's like what the energy of the black cat is, like a rip in the time space continuum, to where she's seeing things that the mere mortal can't see. But then she exposes that thing to people, and they look at her as like, you bitch, like why would you do that to me? It's like, that's not what I did. She's like, you were drawn to me, and then you want to blame me for the tower that comes with that. It's like, you were drawn to me because that's God will align you with me when you are searching for the answers to what you're supposed to be doing in this world. And what you're supposed to be doing is finding out where you're out of alignment. But when people don't want to look to their own like image in the mirror, their own reflection, and see the devil looking back at them, then people like this open up a tower. They open up a tower opportunity, and then they get blamed for it. Okay. And meanwhile, it's like, yo, I'm just sitting here doing my thing. This seems impossible. This seems impossible. This is the Lover's card. And I think that there is an inherent concept to look at it as like being brought together with another lover, that is of your equal stature, and it's blessed by angelic frequency. But when it's in the major arcana, there's like the Two of Cups. And I see anything that's in the major arcana as major points of shifting for you in your life. Okay. So the lovers being the concept of bringing in a divine partner. It's like the only partner that you can bring in when it's in your own major arcana is you. It's like to access all parts of yourself. Now that is defeating and depleting every time like a spiritual person talks about that. It's like, it's not about the person, it's about the journey. It's about your own self-discovery. It's like, well, fuck that. How fucking long do I have to take this journey for on my own? I've been tending to this shit. People come by whenever I'm not looking and like take from it. It's like, what what can I do? Because I know God overwatches everything, right? Like this angel, it's like God's been overwatching this. So, you know, God knows that He set you on a throne for to be a transformational like empress in this world, to be a transformational, to be this like beautiful thing that draws people in for transformation. It reminds me of like a Venus flytrap or something like that. It's like something that draws people in, but then that's how other people might see you, but then it consumes them for their own like nutrition. Like the Venus flytrap is not bad because she does that, but it's like, what? It's almost like she's trying to consume the dark parts of you, okay? Not you, but like the people who would blame her for causing towers. It's because she's consuming the darkness, and people don't like to let go of their darkness. So it's like they fight against that. This Queen of Swords in the reverse. They fight it and say, well, you're the fucking problem. It's like, no, I'm not the problem. You are the problem because you don't understand. This is the Queen of Cups. You don't understand how to use your own emotions. That's the only way to get clarity. You have to use your own emotions, not to just react from and be so critical of others. You need to use your own emotions to figure out what they are pointing you to. And this is it. It's like you're starting out on a new journey of self discovery and growth. A wand cannot be grown by a person, a branch cannot be grown by a person. That is a creation with God. Okay. But people know how to use like trees and things like that to form tools along our earthbound path to bring us to this, you know? So it doesn't matter if you don't feel like it's been fair. It's not. It's about what fuel do you operate on? And if you're using the wrong kind of fuel, what are you going to do? You're going to break down, right? If you were a vehicle and you put in the wrong kind of fuel, you put diesel into, something that needs unleaded, you're going to F that up completely. You are going to F up your vessel. So you really don't have an option but to follow the guidance within. Every time you get a new message, you have to keep going and finding that because you're in partnership. You don't get this 10 of Pentacles just based on your own wherewithal. It's like if people actually got rewards based on the purity of their heart when it comes to like the physical world, you know, the world would be a much different place. Okay. The Empress and the Nine of Cups in the reverse. Delays will prove necessary. I so dislike the meanings on these cards. Um, that's why I say it's like the lowest quality deck because it'll kind of bring you into a space of confusion if you read the meanings on these cards. Delays will prove necessary. And now that would be said because the Empress is supposed to be pregnant, which she doesn't even really look pregnant in this card. And I don't see like pomegranates on her dress. I think she's got pomegranates on her dress in the traditional one because it's supposed to represent growth and, yeah, just wealth. The pomegranate is like the blood of Christ and things like that. It's a food that has a lot of mythology behind it and a lot of meaning behind it. But anyway, so this Nine of Cups in the reverse is saying the emotional fulfillment, it's just not there yet, I don't know why. It says improvements underway, feeling smug or pleased. So I don't even see how those relate to each other because not everyone has like a meaning for the reverse and the upright. But this way, it just makes me sick when I read the what it has on here, and perhaps because that's the truth of it. Improvements underway, feeling smug or pleased, but it's in the reverse, so it would be like the opposite of that thing. But in the upright, she is saying that delays will prove necessary, and so I don't know. I just, I feel this with you. Let's see what the moon actually says on the card. Deception or delays, emotions up or down, maybe deceiving yourself emotionally or others. So, like, delays are the concept of what I was talking about starting out, where when negative things happen, they are miraculous. They are miraculous by comparison of like the norm of every day, you know? And so those are the mandatory delays that you have. And you can vibe on whatever sort of energy that you want to function in your day, but the goal should really be to give the best of what you want to receive. Use your ego to gain some clarity and like how what you want in your world around you. All right. Let me just get some other insight into this. This golden deck I really enjoy. It's just a higher level. Why is it in such resistance to open? Okay. Because I was like, oh my gosh. This is what's at the bottom of the deck and this deck too, okay? Because when I put them back into the box, I shuffle them so I can't see what they are. So we got the devil again, okay? Let's see. On the cut, we've got the magician, and I see another cut here. Let's see what that is. The King of Swords. All right. So the first perhaps tool from the magician's table that you need to use to get away from this devil energy is the sword. It's the sword of truth, and it's the sword of um like discernment with your words, and that you cannot keep hiding your words anymore. Like if if there's something about this system that you're in that you don't like, you need to speak up, because you are just a mere mortal like all the rest of the people who are involved in this system. All right? People don't get to high places just because they're smart. All right? They get there because that is the plan somehow. Okay? Let me just see if there's any more. Let's see, just deck. I like the way that it shuffles. Um, okay. We got the Five of Cups. All right. We also got the King of Pentacles again. All right. So let's see what else. We got the Five of Wands and the Seven of Wands. That's like fighting, winning, and then defending your position. Man. Okay. We got the Eight of Wands. So I'm seeing a lot of wand energy so far. We got the Emperor, the Two of Pentacles again, the Knight of Swords, the Hierophant, the Wheel of Fortune, the Magician again, and the Eight of Cups. All right. So this is sort of separating itself into two different paths. Okay. And now I just have limited table space. So trying to get you to see the picture of how they were laid down here. Okay. So the Five of Cups, we've got this definitely loss energy, but right under that is the Star and Strength. And then the Ten of Pentacles. Okay. I won't go further than that. You can obviously see that that is like, ah, it's almost like the loss was your, somehow it was your own manifestation in order to get the wishes that you wanted. And through your strength, that's where it's coming from. That's where this Ten of Pentacles, um, abundance is coming from, because you would have just been fine along the path that everybody else takes. But that isn't, unfortunately, what you want isn't the same as like what your mission is, but you would have been willing to accept less. That's the problem. That's the problem, is that God is like, no, you're so willing to accept less than what I made you for that I can't I can't let you have what you want. Okay. That's like, I made you as the King of Pentacles. You know that because I allowed you to go to so many battles, go through so many battles. And you are defending yourself because I gave you these messages, okay? These are like spiritual messages. I'm trying to get it to where you can see it, where the light isn't totally reflecting um, from the image. And it's like, what's going on here? The Emperor, the Two of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, the Hierophant. Man, a squirrel just ran across my roof and it makes the whole house shake. Just a little squirrel. Um, I don't usually take a lot of time with my readings, and that's because, or when I'm deciphering what the cards are, and that's because I feel like I'm always trying to prove something to myself. I'm always trying to freaking prove something to myself. Okay, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. It's that, to prove that I am like this emperor energy, that I really do know what's going on and what's right and what's wrong. I'm always trying to juggle multiple things. Do you get that? Do you get that in your, like, in your life path? Have you always been trying to figure out how to juggle these things, because you know that if you are like the true leader that you are supposed to be, then you can handle a lot of things. But so you're always like, oh, okay, I have an idea, so I'm going to charge forward with it, right? And then you where you charge forward to is the Hierophant, and he's like, no. That's where he's always like, no. Okay, let me move this up a little bit more so I can see what I'm looking at here. Okay, so this is the Emperor energy. You're like, yeah, dude, I know that I'm super solid in what skills I was born with and my ability to lead. But it's like, then you end up having to utilize that energy on some low level earthly shit, because it's sort of the path to being the emperor, is like you've been having to juggle all this bullshit for so long. But you're like, so when you get mad, you get these like little spurts of energy of like, okay, I tried that thing and it didn't work out. Like me personally, I never look for like, how can this not work out, right? And it's because it's so easy for me to solve a problem and come up with an entire solution that like I can see it all the way from the start to the outcome of like, because I can predict where the problems are going to be or where things might fall short. So I can constantly pivot. It's like, here's the basis of it. And then as problems come up, you just solve them as you go. All right. But it's like you'll go forward with this energy of this idea on how to solve a problem. And then nothing comes of it within this time of which you need to be renewed, where your energy needs to be renewed to verify and validate that your idea was a good one. And so you sink back down because ultimately you're given like a no, not yet, no, not yet, right? You have to learn more about life. The Hierophant is like the ultimate teacher. So he has to like give you another life lesson. But then it's like the wheel has turned for you so many times because you've learned how to successfully walk away. It's like this is not a hard thing for you to do anymore. And because prior to doing it, you always think that you're being cold for walking away to something that felt like it was supposed to be of the emotional heart space. And it's like all of that walking away gets you better and better and better at the process every single time. Like, what if it was your first day as a magician? How good do you think that you would be at believing in what you can create? Maybe if you were a child, maybe if you were a child, because children, they believe in anything, they believe in anything. And that's why we get that shit beat out of us, right? Literally, figuratively, however you want to say it. It's like the school system is a part of that. It's to take away your imagination, but then they're like, but do creative writing. And it's like, it's not creative if you're telling me to do it right now. That's not creative writing. And that's what I always used to get so frustrated with in school. It's like, you're not allowing for creativity. It's like you're trying to put it in here as a cheap substitute for what we're really supposed to be doing in life. It's like, how in the world can you create or how can you include art and music in school, but also like math and all this other stuff in this way where they are oppositional to each other? It's like most artists don't become accountants, or become it's possible for sure, but really the true pathway for like God to come through is by being adaptable and creative and artistic and whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be problem solving through friendships and different things like that. It's like if we use that as the basis of how we're trying to learn the other things like math and communication and English and all these other things, then it would have a better source to come from for us to be able to like create with it instead of just trying to do like problem solving. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you taught math through music, it would be so much more effective because music sounds good. It makes you feel something. So if you started out with teaching people the feelings, then they would have a reason to want to learn the math behind it because music is all about math, right? If you don't know, now you know. All right. It's like how to read a quarter note or a whole note and to know what that is. And what is a quarter note in like a 4/4 measure. It's you have to learn all of these things. And then once you hear music, once you learn the math behind it, then you have all the tools and elements in order to be able to create with it rather than trying to like mimic what somebody else is doing and learn somebody else's method for something. When you learn the foundations behind it and how it ties into creativity also, and how it ties into like high level conceptual uh what do you call it, critical thinking. That's the seat of all creation. That is the magician. I had to take a break because my dog was dry heaving, and that's kind of like that's sort of the essence of because he's not well right now, and I do believe it's because he's got something that has caught him inside, like something that he ate that is causing him to like bleed inside and like dry heave because he's got blood in his poop. but I was a medic, and so I understand that based on the color of it kind of tells you where the location is, and it must be higher up because it's causing him to like dry heave and throw up. He's going to like eat grass and then throw up, and I'm oh my God, it's like that's the basis. That's the basis of this reading is this miraculous bad luck that I have been through, and that he was what I was thinking of is like because it is somewhat consuming me now. So this miraculous bad luck is consuming me right now because I have been working so hard. Like I said, when these stories come out, they're my stories. And, the miracle of the fact that we have something like YouTube and we have readers who are so much bigger than I am in terms of their numbers and who they get to reach. And yet their messages speak straight to me. And then I see other people commenting and whatever. It lets me know that I am not the only one going through this. But, it feels like it. It feels like it because nobody around me is. And they haven't ever, and I'm 42 years old. And this is like, I'm always the one helping other people up because I've been through so much. And, if you're like me, you're like, what the fuck? Like, these people are going through such small shit in comparison. I'm going to try to run through the history. And if anybody sees this and you have something similar, then witness to everybody. Give a testimony here, okay? Because it's very hard. And if you haven't gone through this stuff, then pray for people like us, okay? Find ways to give back. Find ways to be grateful for what you have instead of complaining about the world, instead of falling into the fucking spiderweb trap that society sets for you to grab your attention and focus and money on stuff that can't be distributed amongst each other, okay? We can't distribute our riches amongst each other because we have too many systems over our heads that are that dictate what we can and can't do with our lives. All right. So when I was in high school, I made the conscious choice to be a part of something called Finance Academy, even though I knew what I wanted to go into was culinary school. But my mom said, that's a great idea, but you should wait until you're older because you might end up just being like the chef at McDonald's or something. Like, I don't really think that's how it works, but fine. So I decided to go into teaching. And again, that was sort of like because I didn't know how to label what I wanted, but it was to help people. Okay. And I've always been interested in like earth, spiritual healing, and like the natural order of things, but never saw it reflected in any options that I had in school. So my dad's best friend was a teacher. So I thought, okay, I could be a teacher. Plus, I saw one of the principals from our local schools come in and give a talk on a career day about the impact that he made in children's lives as like through his time during teaching, and then he became like the superintendent eventually. And I thought that I could do that. I could do that because he was talking about walking into like tough homes where these kids were alone and sort of abandoned, and I was like, I have no really fear. I have no fear. And so that would be an area where I'd be strong enough to do it, whereas other people might not be. Okay. So that's what I went into. Then I got involved in a 5-year program for a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. And my concentration was in math because I know how much people dislike math. And I thought I can bring it to the awareness of like why it's important and why it's fun. It's because most teachers teach it as like, all right, you guys aren't going to get it, and this is going to be hard and nobody likes math. It's like you're fucking feeding them poison when you do it like that. And I thought I could, you know, be a positive influence in that. So I tried to collapse my timeline down and I tried to take as many classes as I could because it was like for a bachelor's degree, it was like 160 credits or something like that, which was more than some other bachelor degree programs. So, and I didn't want to have to wait 5 years. I really wanted to start life, have children of my own, and move forward. And, um, my 4th year in school, if you pay attention to this channel, if you watch other videos on this channel, I'm constantly talking about this type of shit because I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing in life and what all this leads to. So, my car flooded on the way into school one day. I called my teacher to let her know. And she called me back to let me know that she didn't want me to be there anymore because I had missed two classes. And I had always been told, like, college is cool because you get more freedom as long as you get your work done. Well, 9/11 happened while I was in my freshman year of college. So, attendance became very, very mandatory. I don't know why, but they said it was like some sort of effect of 9/11 happening. And, oh man. So, yeah, she asked me to leave, and then she asked me to like sort of come back, try to get back into her class a year from that point. And I was like, no, that's not how. How can I do that? She was asking me to like take electives so I could maintain my active student status. And I was like, I'm like a probably 21-year-old kid at this point. Like I had $14,000 to pay back in student loans at that point. So I just knew I couldn't keep racking up debt in my life. It was just going completely against what I felt um in my heart, you know? It's like I wanted to be a creator of love and things. That's this concept of like building my own family, of like having my own children, building my own life, building my own family. And so I had already I've been getting disillusioned by school in that final year already, or like maybe even the summer before, because I felt like it's going to take forever for me to get to the path that I want to, because I need to guarantee my family's financial security. So I can't start having kids before I have a job, and I can't get a job in teaching until I complete my degree. And then I have to be in New York State, you have to sign up for your master's program just to be a teacher. And you have like 2 years to complete it from the time that you get your first teaching job, or 2 years to get in a program. I don't remember what it was, but the whole time in high school, I worked for my school district so that I was in the know of all the teachers and the superintendent and all of the people in the school district. You know, so they were my cheerleaders, because they were going to like help me come into the district and have a job. And, I had gone through all of my education there. And so when this was happening, I thought like, oh, and the Erie County budget, like the county that I live in, they were like way overdue for the budget, and tenured teachers were getting laid off. So it was like this concept of like, I have to finish up my bachelor's degree, which they're going to make me turn into a 5-year program, even though it already was. And then I decreased it down to a 4-year program for all of the work that I was doing. Plus, I was running a Mary Kay business. Plus, I was like, working 2 jobs and babysitting on the side. And I had a relationship. It's like I was giving the best of myself to everything always. And I was forecasting what was going on the horizon and paying attention. As a 21-year-old kid, you're not supposed to even know all that shit, okay? But I realized young that it's like I need to know as much as I can about this world. And so I was watching it just fall apart. I was watching my life, like the opportunity for what I wanted, like fall apart and get further and further away from me, because it's like then tack on the master's program, then tack on 3 more years until I get tenured. And at that point is when I can start having kids. That was like years off. And I wanted to have a child by the time I was like 22. So that was not happening. So I thought, well, maybe if I join the army, but I knew I like was not small enough to join the army. Like I'm short, but I am fat. Okay. So I knew that that was going to be a struggle, because I've always been focused on losing weight, because that's what my doctors would always tell me to do. And so I've always eaten consciously. I've always worked out consciously, and I always had the fat that made me look like, if the fat is proof of me being healthy, it doesn't compute properly. Okay. So, yeah, so I did get into the army, but it was a long struggle. And I thought that I could just go back into teaching after like giving my time to the military, or, finish it in the military or whatever. I didn't know. I just knew that I wanted to fast track having my own family. Okay. And that was how I did it, because we were at war. And I thought, when you have nothing else to live for, right? It's like when things go wrong in your life, You are totally willing to take risks because you're either going to die or you're going to fall into purpose, right? And I was willing to take those risks. And so I worked hard. Mm, I don't want to tell all these stories again. I'm just trying to tell it to you in a tale of like what's been happening over the past 20 years so that if you've been on this path, just know how much I feel your frustration. Okay. And the reason why it all ties back in, I will get to. But so I did get to join the army on my second try. And I was going for explosive ordnance disposal, which is the Army bomb squad, which is like pretty much certain death or like mental mess after working in a job like that. But I thought, oh, I can handle it. And I got a $20,000 enlistment bonus for doing it. So I thought, okay, well, I can pay off my $14,000 of debt for school. Well, Hurricane Katrina came through, ruined my door. I had to go and stay in a friend's room. They did an inspection on the barracks that morning and we got kicked out. Okay. This was like, even though we had approval from somebody who was in charge of the building to stay there because of the situation, we ended up getting kicked out. So I lost my $20,000 enlistment bonus. He lost his $40,000 enlistment bonus. I became a medic. He went back into the job of like signal intel of what he was before, something like that. And then like he went on a deployment. I went to Korea and that's where I met my husband. And I just saw him as I was a medic. I saw some people walking up to my aid station and I couldn't really see them, but I knew the person in the middle. I thought that person's going to be the father of my children. And I thought, well, that is a weird thought. Well, he ended up being the father of my four children. And he my best friend ended up taking his own life like 2 years later. So yeah, this story is like complex and layered and annoying, but the had been trying to have kids without having to get married, without, you know, with somebody who had agreed that like they wanted to be able to give me this thing that I wanted, which was children, but not have to worry about like having to have a successful relationship just so I could have my children. And I could not get pregnant, you know? And so it was a miracle that I got pregnant with my husband, but with him came such a life of karma. He cheated on me multiple times. He said he like didn't want to be with me and then I would be like, "Okay, well, let's separate." And then he wouldn't want to and it was just like, I don't understand why you want to keep coming back to me. Like our first son was born like 7 weeks premature. He like had to be hospitalized for 6 months. We found out he had Down syndrome. I was working on a mother baby unit at the time, so I was working with all these fresh healthy babies, having to hide everything that was going on inside. Um I don't know if this story has any cohesion, but I just have to get it out because I don't even understand what's going on. Ah, um, yeah, my husband and I, we had only known each other like 7 months before our son was born because we met and decided within 2 days that we wanted to get married, and I got pregnant on that night. So, since my son was born premature, it was like a couple months into the pregnancy that my husband decided that he wanted an annulment. And I was like, you can't get an annulment when you have a baby on the way. So he wanted me to start working on divorce paperwork. So because we were in Korea, I had to get shipped back to the United States, and I did. I started that divorce paperwork. Then when he came back to the States, he decided that he wanted to try in person to spend time with a girl who he wanted to leave me for, but he had met her prior to going to Korea. And I was like, fine. What other position could I be in? Like, what am I going to say no and then he's going to do it anyway? It's just like when other people mess with your life path because you bring them in. I know that was my first experience of that. I didn't know somebody else could just go against their word and completely ruin your life. Like the things that you had planned together. I didn't know you could do that. I did not know that you could just lie. So I was financially bound to him because in the army, only one person gets like extra money once you get married and you get this dependent pay. Um, And so I was not the one having that money. And so I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have anything. Matter of fact, I had to stay with this some woman for like a month. She like found me in a parking lot on base, and she was in the military too. And yeah, she took me in for a month, so I'm grateful for people like that. But damn, it sucks when you're going through some chaos and then you gotta live in harmony with other people around you, and you don't even really have time to like work through things. So anyway, because we were in the army and he had the majority of the money, he had this hold over me um that I couldn't do anything about. Right? So I was sort of at the whim of whatever he wanted to do, which was like right from the beginning of the relationship. That's what was going on because I feel like a man should lead the way and the woman is the helpmeet, right? So let me just try to pick up speed on this. My husband ended up getting out of the military because my first son was like dying and we didn't really know if he was going to survive. So he did survive. He's 18 now. He had to have 6 bowel resections. So as first time parents, we were like changing pee diapers, but he had to have an ileostomy, like, like a colostomy bag, but it comes from higher up in the intestine. Um, so that's where his waste would go. And then, like, every time they would try to connect his bowels back together, he would implode. And this was a very small baby. He was born at 4 pounds, 7 ounces. And so I just had to watch my child suffer. And no, 2 hours away from me. So it's not like I got to be there with him. It's not like I really got to hold him. So I had really joined the army because I wanted to deploy and I wanted to. Not everybody's going to do that in my generation. Okay. Not everybody's going to like put their life on the line for the safety of our people. And I really didn't appreciate the freedoms that I had anyway. I didn't know what to do with them. So I really wanted to serve. All right. So my husband got out. He stayed home with our son when he finally got released from the hospital. But like, during that time that he was hospitalized, he was just like in these phases of like healing. And it was just crazy. And like I said, I was working at Fort Bragg's hospital on the mother baby unit. So I thought, what a strange twist of fate to be the person in the position of like taking care of other people's babies. And if you're not going through something difficult, then you just are stuck in your own emotions. And so many mothers would be all stressed out about the first day of being a mom. And they would be like, can you just take the baby out of the room because I can't deal with the crying? And I was like, damn, every time that I had a child, all 4 times, my first day with those children on the outside was my greatest day ever because their father wasn't there. It was just me and the baby. Um, and I would just stare at that baby all night through their little, I would keep them with me, but the nursing staff and all that, they don't like it when moms have the baby in the bed necessarily. So I could not understand. And I could also not tell my story of like where my child was and what he was going through and consequently, like at the same time, there was no like my husband and I were still having problems because he had cheated on me before coming up to stay with me and then decide that he wanted to be in our relationship, not with him and that other girl. But he kept telling me like he didn't sleep with her, which I knew he did. You don't go down and spend a week at somebody's house and like not. So anyway, it was just kind of a gross situation. The fact that people can embody such gross energies and still like embody loving energy, it's fucking crazy. And I will always feel way sorrier for all those people than through whatever I have to go through, because at least I understand what it's like to like stick with your morals, and with your heart. Um, yeah, so we ended up having to like move into the ghetto and the apartment was haunted. All right. We didn't discover it right away, but we discovered it. And so like during the time that we were staying there, I had 2 diamond rings. One was my grandmother's that she had given to me on her deathbed. Actually, it was from her ring. And then I had one made from it. Well, that one went missing, but the other one was still there. Um, So anyway, after having my two sons, I did end up having a deployment in between. And yeah, so I went to war. And like during that time, um, I met what would be called my twin flame. And then that's a whole fucking journey of like miraculousness and then filled with a miraculous amount of pain at the alignment and then the misalignment of it. So if you guys go through that and you know what it's like, you know what it's like. And I had asked for a divorce from my husband because I wanted to be with my partner. And he said yes. And then he was like, no, no, I want to fight for this relationship. Well, then I got to have my two daughters. So I'm glad he said that, but he never, I don't know what he meant by fight for the relationship, but he didn't do a goddamn thing to make it better. But he definitely did, like, I don't know, once we had the fourth child, he didn't want to be a stay-at-home dad anymore. And it was coming on up to the terms of my it was my end of term of service for the military. So I could have reenlisted or I could have gotten out. Well, I had to get out by that point because 9 years of trying to fucking starve yourself, like while you're pregnant, after you've had a baby, you're trying to nurse the baby. You can't do that because you got to get back into shape. I would gain 40 pounds with each pregnancy, even though I was doing like Nutrisystem or, it's unbelievable to be stuck in a body that works against the laws of science. Um, and then, but for your job to depend on it, okay? It's fucking crazy. So let me just figure out what I'm trying to say. He wanted to go back into civilian life. So and before when he was like when I was in the military, I had paid for him to go to a UFC like training center gym just to make sure that he could feel good as a man. Okay. So he got to like be a cage fighter for a period of time. And then um when we went into the civilian world, I was going to culinary school, but I was using my GI Bill, so I was making money for that. But we tried to buy a house and use my loan, my GI loan. Is that what it's called? Yeah, VA home loan. And they said, well, because you have four kids and because your income is based on your schooling, we don't consider that income. And so you're going to have to also work no less than 38 hours. So I had to pick up another job. So after having given like 24 hours a day to this war machine for 9 years and going through all kinds of bullshit with that, then I had to go to culinary school, which was like supposed to be my dream. And moving to Louisiana, these were my dreams. And I got to go and live them. Then I was also having to work 38 hours a week. And so for a period of almost 24 months, it was definitely 18 months, I never had a day off. Okay. So it was like either I would work and go to school or I would work or go to school. So there was like probably like 2 or 3 days a week where it was just one thing, and then like 4 days where it was everything or both things. Then going home to like my husband didn't contribute because even though he went back to work, he started spending a lot more money on things that I didn't know about and like taking money that I had in our joint account that only I was contributing to and paying for things that he would decide like, well, I want this or I want the kids to be signed up for that and whatever. And so the money management that I had, like all the business education that I had, man, one time, oh yeah, this is the part that loops back around to the dog. I've always wanted a dog. My parents wouldn't let me have one. So when he and I were married, he always wanted a chocolate lab. And when I was deployed, his friend had a puppy that was half chocolate lab. So we got this dog first. Then when I went to an investment class one day, on like how to flip houses and the real estate market, um, I come home and he's got a new dog. He had gotten a German Shepherd, because that's what he had always wanted. So I'm like trying to figure out how to like save money, make money, and he's out spending money. And I'm just like, well, the man should lead the way and he should be able to have what makes him happy. Okay. So I was just a lot, whatever he wanted, because I couldn't fight against him about it. He was going to have his way. So, um, yeah. So then years later, we had gotten out of the army, moved down to Louisiana. I was going through culinary school and the job, and he was starting to work. And yeah, again, it was just like steadily draining our money. Anytime, then I filed for disability through the military. and I had gotten like the $16,000 back pay check, like check for back pay for when I originally filed. Um, and then I was trying to buy this business, like this building, so that I could start a beignet shop there because I went to culinary school and ultimately, like working for other bakeries and stuff like that, it was really hurting my body from the disabilities that I incurred from the military. And most of them were just from trying to lose weight. I was just working out so hard and starving so much that I had just broken myself down. So I was just trying to do something in within my means and with the money that I had. Well, they kind of told me, like the real estate company, they were like, it's between you and somebody else, but we're rooting for you. Well, they had gone with the somebody else. So guess what happened to that $16,000? It ended up paying off like just crap that my husband wanted, paying off his debt. Oh, I was just like, I don't understand how this is possible. Well, anyway, a couple of years after that, our house floods and we didn't have contents coverage on our flood insurance, so we didn't get coverage for any of the stuff inside the house, but we got money for rebuilding the house. Well, I didn't want just some scammers to come in and do cheap work on the house, but I've always wanted to build a house. So I got myself I started a business as a home improvement contractor because I had learned a lot from moving around in the military of how to do like small repairs. And ultimately, rebuilding a house is just a bunch of small repairs all over a whole house. So, and my brother-in-laws were contractors. So I knew that if I really needed help, though they lived in New York and I was in Louisiana, that we could schedule a trip for them to come down and do the harder work that I couldn't. And that's what happened. My husband agreed to it. He said he would help watch the kids so I could do it. He I won't get into all the details of it, but we had had those 2 dogs with us, and then another stray dog, like, kept running over to our house. It was actually, somebody else's, but it kept running to our house, and then my husband was like, "Well, we'll just take it in." Well, then another, like, stray dog came up, and he wanted to take that dog in, but then our neighbor had told us that, oh, they had found her the day before, and they wanna take her in. So we give her back to the neighbors, and then they're like, "We think she's pregnant, so we really can't take her in." So my husband takes this dog back in, and, mind you, like, I'm the one responsible for all this stuff of like cleaning up the dog poop and all this other stuff. Why? Because he said that that's what he wants and then that he would do the work involved in it. Didn't. So then this dog has puppies. Well, we have her. So then we've got all the puppies. He didn't want to let any of them go away, though 2 died because of like heartworms or stomach worms, or I don't really know what it is, but within a couple of days they had died. So we treated all the others, took care of them. Then another dog comes, like she's a stray, and he wants that dog. We had 13 dogs at one time, and he wouldn't let them in the house. So they were like all living in the backyard. They were becoming more and more unhealthy. The only one that he would really care about was the German Shepherd. And so I would spend so much money on the dog food and the kennel and like trying to mow the backyard to make sure that the house, it was just such a freaking mess. And I just kept letting him lead us into chaos and then covering it all up, My neighbors would see this type of stuff because they were over at our house all the time and I was cooking for everybody, knowing that I had the most, like nobody else had kids really. Um, and I don't care. I don't care about giving and doing for others. That's what I want to do. But they would see like the destructive things that my spouse was doing. And because he's like, this is like what a narcissist is. This is what they're labeled. But it's like people really love them because they have this charming quality about them. And then they just sort of, when they do bad things, they have this sort of like, well, I'm just a human or whatever. So everybody thinks it's like extra charming. And I'm like, you are watching the Titanic sink right now. And, so he did end up asking me for a divorce. But before that, he said that he wanted to move up here to New York State. So my mom bought us this trailer for $26,000 and I had to start paying on the lot rent for it because it's in a park. So I was paying for the mortgage of the house and the lot rent here. And come time to like move, he said that he didn't want to because he wanted to keep his job and he had a girlfriend that he found on Tinder. And, so I was okay with that just because like he had been anchoring me into such a bad place and I was compliant with it because what the fuck else could I do? I had asked him for a divorce when I met the guy who I recognize as a twin, and he wouldn't go for it. It's like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand this path. But what happened was that we were like starting this separation process, and I was just praying that God help me out of this. I can't afford to take care of all these dogs and this and that. And then when our house flooded, as a matter of fact, like all those puppies that we had, um, we had to let them go and run in the flood because they would like nip at people, and we couldn't like walk around with like 13 dogs. So we had like the main three or four dogs, and they were all like roped together on ropes and stuff. Man, it's so in depth. But what I'm trying to say is that how I was trying to format my life based on like what I desired. And it was like kids and a family and dogs and whatever. But I was with a partner who would say all these things of what he wanted and then not be present for it, or be present just to like watch how it was all sinking and then kind of like laugh at it and then just keep doing the wrong thing. But at different points say like, listen, I realize what the problem is. And then he would like fix himself for a little bit to show that he could. And then he would slide right back down. Okay. And it was just so, I'm like, what, God, what can I possibly do? So anyway, I moved up here with the four kids. And the dogs, a couple of the dogs died, like the ones that we had left, the original one, the half black lab or chocolate lab one. One day I walked out to the patio and she was just laying there in a pile of blood from her head. And I was like, holy crap. She had been so malnourished because she had to stay outside with all those puppies, and they would eat the food and she wouldn't. And she was like pretending to be their mom because their mom had run off. That dog suffered, that she suffered, and she was his choice. She was my partner's choice. And he- as I watched that whole breakdown, I was like, he does to everything what he does to everything, right? Including me. It's like, I want this, but I am not going to sustain it. Okay. So I just want it. Um, and I'm not going to let it go. If I think, it's like if there's signs that I should do something to like nourish the relationship or the dogs or whatever. It's like we couldn't afford veterinary care for all of them. Well, anyway, we were supposed to bring the one dog up here who's a German Shepherd, and then we couldn't because this park doesn't allow those kind of dogs here. And man, I just feel like this is such a long video and it was meant to be a tarot reading, and it's just the same thing as all my other videos. It's purposeless to put it out, but I'm trying to do some fucking healing inside. And I just can't understand how things can go wrong with an open heart for so long. You know, this is all I can focus on today. This is all I can focus on today because that German Shepherd, he ended up dying of spinal cancer, and dogs that live a natural life, they don't die of cancer. So that's why when we moved up here, we had a cat. I had gotten a cat for the kids because they deserve to have something to love through this process of having to move away from their father, have to move away from their home where everything was taken from them. He had promised to keep the house so when they came back to visit that they could stay there. He ended up selling it. He sold all of I don't know what happened to my stuff that was still down there, but I didn't get any of the investment that I put into like my tools and stuff to renovate the house. It's just been such it's like Lemony Snicket's a series of unfortunate events. It's really what it's been, and I can't understand why. And but it never changed my fucking heart. And that's what I'm almost envious of, people who can just destroy somebody else and not have to answer to it. But I realized in my 42 years of life that I still have a lot of life left to live. But holy fucking shit, like I'm just I'm giving everything that I can, you know? I apply to jobs, I try, I finally, oh my God. It was like after the divorce, it's just so complicated. It's just so stupid and complicated, and you wouldn't believe that things can work out the way that they have, but they did. And here we are. We got the cat. We brought the cat up here. We had him for 1 year, and then I started to notice that he looked like his belly was getting bigger, but his body was getting skinnier, and I knew something was wrong with him. But I couldn't get child support because my ex-husband didn't have money. Okay. So I didn't bother taking him to court because he was worked for the law. So he was threatening me that, you know, I don't even know why he would start doing this. Like he would talk nice and then he would talk mean. Now, once I met his friends in Korea, they were calling him Jekyll and Hyde. And I was like, holy shit. So they know about this, where I was just learning about this personality thing where he was like super in love and then like wanted to break off the relationship. And I was like, holy crap, I don't know what I got into, but there's no way for me to get out of it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Point is that I didn't want the kids to have a bad relationship with their father. I just knew that he wasn't stable enough in his way of life in order for us to have a positive result from it, you know? And so I just thought that like he could be a unicorn for them where they just go and he spend money on them while they're there because that's what he was really good at was spending money, okay? So and then as long as it kept them happy, I thought that no matter what, I could like find a way to stabilize our finances up here. And because COVID kicked off and all that other stuff, it was like every opportunity that I had was taken away from me. And, so I didn't have money to take care of the cat once I found out that something was wrong with him. I could just tell that something was wrong with him and he ended up dying. And I thought, God, it sucks. These kids have had to watch all these animals die, and like and they take it so well. They're so healthy. And I know that the only reason for that is because I raised them, because I know what it's like. I know what alchemizing is like, alchemizing emotions and miraculously bad fucking luck. I know what it's like. And so I prevented them from having trauma by talking them through everything that has happened, you know? So we lost that cat. We ended up taking in my sister's dog because they didn't have time for him anymore. Their lives were getting too busy, and it was perfect because he's a perfect little sized dog for us to be able to have and take care of. But ever since we've had him, we still hadn't had any increase in our finances, and I haven't been able to give him veterinary care or anything like that. So I transitioned his life to make sure this is the same with my kids. Like, I don't want to have to pay for emergencies. So I invest myself in their health and like make sure that I don't just feed them what society feeds people. Okay. I make everything from scratch when I can, and I try to source the best stuff. And yet that's so expensive. You have to take this factory meat. You have to take this, this industrialized produce and stuff like that. It's so unhealthy. Oh man. And even in that process, I ended up getting married again to somebody else who really destroyed parts of my life and me in the process. And he was another lover hater. I just don't understand. I don't understand what it is that gets some of us looped into these karmic cycles. It's like, what did I do? What did I do? What am I supposed to prove? How much more do I need to prove? So this dog, we've been like loving and taking care of him, and he's our family, and we've been taking him for walks. And then I started feeding him like only chicken or only beef or whatever, really healthy stuff, because that's what gives dogs cancer is the dog food and stuff, So we had a dog die of cancer. Well, dogs don't die of human stuff unless they have human interaction involved in it. And so I'm trying to give this dog the most natural life possible. And because he can't just run around in my yard because the trailer park doesn't allow for that, I take him for walks regularly. We've been doing this now for 7 years, okay? And I have given him probably 2,000 meals with chicken and yeah, with bone in the chicken. And what it does is it keeps his teeth healthy and it keeps him eating like a natural dog would. He'd be eating animals and the bones and stuff like that. Well, within the past 2 days, I've noticed that he's got blood in his stool and he's like throwing up. And it's like, I'm just sad because that dog doesn't deserve to be in pain. It's like I don't want to have to go to doctors and modern medicine for cures, but that's the benefit of us living in this time is that we have access to that and we have access to the knowledge of our past of what is best for a human life and for an animal life, okay? And so I believe it should be the best of both worlds. And it's like I have been doing nothing but looking for areas of improvement to make sure that I'm not missing anything, that I'm not like closed off to anything. The fact that I'm not just trying to do this in the societal way of like where I have to chase money or I have to chase welfare but man, have I been accused of being a welfare queen by my two ex-husbands. Like, you guys have benefited off of me, off of all the money that I have made. $250,000 spent on housing from when I was in the military. I don't have any of that. I don't have any of the gains from any of that. I don't have any equity in it. I don't have any of my things from my past. When I moved here, I had to rely on like the graciousness of others, people who gave me bags of clothes. We came up here like in a fucking broken down vehicle with two laundry baskets and a book bag for each child filled with whatever they wanted to bring. And that was it. Yeah. So I had to be real humble and accept whatever I was given. And I accepted it with such fucking gratitude. Man. And that's still, it's like, I'm grateful for every opportunity that I have. And I will never just let opportunities pass me by because I was too fucking ignorant or stubborn to do some fucking hard work. I just released a video where I was talking about how my most shameful truth is the fact that I had to pick up dog poop just so I could have money. That was the job that I did. You know, I filed for child support like 6 years after the divorce. And when my ex-husband received that paperwork, he served me with lawsuits. So I had to go to court last year and fight for child support. I don't even understand why I would have to do that. I don't understand what God's plan is for all that. But it's like too fucking much. It's too fucking much. It's like, I don't understand, God. Like, what more do you want from me, from us? I know I'm not the only one going through this. And we are frustrated now with God. We've been listening, we've been following. If I have to say goodbye to another pet because I don't have the money, it's not like I want somebody to see this video and be like, oh, I got a lot of money here. You can have it and like solve my problems. It's not what I fucking want. I don't want a fucking handout. I handed out everything that I have to everybody. Like, how hard is it for God to just come in and give just fucking stability and sustenance? Why is that so hard? You know, there's so many more details along that fucking path that you don't know about, and what is it? It just looks like I'm some victim talking about my stupid stories all the time. And like I'm somehow a failure because I couldn't make anything work. You know? That's what I'm represented as. It's so fucking crazy. And all the readers, they all say, your time is coming. Your time is coming. You're so powerful. You're so powerful in this universe. Just wait. It's like, yeah, we know. We fucking know. So are the readers who are saying those things. So it's like, God, come and take us home or put us in purpose, It's like the only thing I'm angry at right now is God. It makes it look like we are the bad ones. Like what we're doing is wrong because we keep getting cursed. Why would anybody want that? Why would anybody want all the devastation that we've been through? It seems like it's wrong. Okay? So if tarot and all this shit is wrong, then let's make it obvious. Let's make it more obvious. Let's not feel a calling from the heart, from God, these whispers of like, just keep serving, you know? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. If you stayed in it, cool. If you left, you're just like everybody else.